Hey guys, Shadney back with another process video, and this one is for my Stampin' Sunday series where I'm showing you all sorts of fun scrapbook layouts using Stampin' Up products. And this video is going to be kind of long because there's a lot going on, but it turns out so cool in the end. So please stick with me so you can see the very end because it's amazing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've pulled out these die sets, and I will link everything down below because I am really bad with names and words and remembering things, and I have no idea what these are called. But they are ones that I'm pretty sure are being retired this year, so they will only be available like until they're gone right now. So if you want them, you have to grab them. So this first thing I'm doing, I've taken a picture and it's got a lot of white space that's blue, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go ahead and, because it's all water, I'm going to take this tiny fishes die cut and just die cut across the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through part of it and not show you the entire bit because it takes a while because I do a lot of the bottom of that picture. So I just cut out as much as possible without overlapping too much. So you can see there is a ton of fish cut out, and we will incorporate that into the rest of our photo later. And I pulled out this vellum, which also is another retired product. A lot of the product I'm using is retired or retiring now because I bought it and just never used it, and now I'm trying to hurry and use it before it's completely retired in case anyone wants to buy it. So I'm trying to hurry and get some cool stuff out there. I'm sorry if it's already gone. So I'm just taking this vellum, and this is from the Perennial Essence line, all the perennial flowers. It comes with this color, a green, and like a golden yellow kind of color of vellum in it. And if you haven't used Stampin' Up's vellum, it's really nice, thick, sturdy vellum. It's very nice. And so now I'm pulling out my Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to use some of the outside bits because, I mean, waste not, whatnot. So I go ahead and use those outside bits just to fill in the large spaces like this. And I'm just popping that photo up on the vellum, on the smallest sheet of vellum. I cut the vellum in 3 different sizes, going like concentric sizes. So on the smallest sheet of vellum, I'm going to pop it up with the foam so that you can see better that the fish are cut out of the photo. I just to give it a little bit of dimension, and you can tell that it's more of a cutout. So, oh, and then I'm going in with the mini dimensionals and adding where the fish are, like if there's any space between the fish, just to give it some more stability for the photo. Thankfully, in the end, you'll see there's a lot of bulk around that area of the photo, so it's not very likely that the photo is going to get smushed in my album. So now I'm just adhering it with my regular adhesive, tape runner, whatever. And I kind of wish I would have, what's the word? Sorry, it's not super early, but it's early enough that I have not been awake very long. So I'm not very good with the words this morning. But I wish I would have inked the edges is what I was trying to say of the vellum, just so you could see the distinction a little bit more, but it's totally cool. I mean, you still see it. It's just not on camera as well. So I did pull out some Dina Wakley mixed media clear gesso and did just a little bit on this background paper. And that paper is it's a Stampin' Up from one of the lines. It's a B-side. And I think it's a Perennial Essence. If not, it's from the art I don't remember. I'm sorry. But it is a Stampin' Up paper. So I pulled out the green vellum from that pack that I was just talking about, and the stamp set that coordinates with these dies. And I'm just stamping the like seaweed looking stamp and then with this green, and then adding embossing powder. So you'll get a nice like cool texture whenever it is heat embossed. And the thing with vellum is that you can stamp on vellum with any ink and it will dry eventually. But I wanted it dry now. So if you're gonna stamp on vellum and need to manipulate it like immediately, like I'm gonna do because I'm gonna fussy cut those out, you're gonna want to use some clear embossing powder over it just to set the ink really well. So there we go, and I'm just doing the heat embossing. And later on when I'm doing heat embossing, I think I cut it out just because this is kind of boring, but you can kind of see it turn and get set. And then after that, I will take my scissors and fussy cut them out in just a few minutes. So setting that aside for just a second, I pulled out this punch, and this one will be carried over into the new catalog. I can't remember what it's called, but just to punch some more of that green vellum to have seaweed, like more ocean flory bits. And then I pulled out this coral stamp, and I'm stamping on using the terracotta coral stamp pad on terracotta coral tile. No. Terracotta tile stamp pad on terracotta tile cardstock is what I'm trying to say. That was a major tongue twister. And I do right here stamp and cut out this octopus, but I do not end up using him. You'll see later I'll cut him out. I'll stamp him in a different color on a different color paper and cut him out. And then these coral pieces thankfully come with a die as well, so I use that to cut out those bits. And what I have right there, the Cuttlebug is just the regular die set that I have, and I have a magnetic plate that goes under my cutting pad, so it'll hold it in place. And Stampin' Up did come out with their own brand new line of die cut machines. They have a bigger and a smaller, and their smaller is really nice because it's not as narrow as the Sidekick. It's like 3.5 inches wide, so it's nice and wide. Like most of my dies will fit through just the Sidekick one, the smaller one. But whenever I tried to order it, it was not available anymore because so many people had ordered them. So they're ordering a bunch more because they're already out of stock. So now I've pulled out, my gesso is completely dry. So I go back and I pull out these sprinkle colors. They are also from Stampin' Up, but they are another product that is getting retired. So if you want them, you've got to get them. I ordered them, like all of the stuff I bought back in, I think, March, and I haven't even played with it at all. I think I was just too scared to break them out because I didn't know what to expect, but they turn out really, really cool. And when they're completely dry, in my still photos, you can see they are a little bit different of a color, a little bit more opaque and vibrant. So the colors I pulled out, I'm not sure the names because I'm horrible with names, but it's the yellow color, the orangey color, and the hot pink color that are in that pack. So all I'm doing is adding a little bit of sprinkle to, hi Chewy. Sorry, the dog just came in from outside and he is really excited. Just a little bit of the sprinkle to the packaging and just spraying it with water and then blotting it around. And then I pulled out the Heidi Swap Color Shine in this light peachy kind of color because I just wanted a little bit of shimmer to it. And that kind of coordinates with the background. Next, I'm pulling out the terracotta tile, sorry. And using the stamp set that I was using that has all of these bits. It's got some nice texture backgrounds. This one is the netting that matches that die. They don't fit together or anything, but it just mimics the same shape. And I'm using just my hands to stamp those. And then this one I'm stamping in Melon Mambo, which is a hot pink. And it's just kind of it almost looks like a scaly texture. But I'm stamping both of those just using my fingers because you don't get a completely flat stamped image. It's more of just some of the texture. It's a technique that I learned from Adele from Inky Quill. She does this a lot, and it's really cool because you don't get that complete flat image, so you don't have like the sharp edges of your stamp. And then you just get some of the cool texture. And then I pulled out a hot pink Heidi Swap Color Shine and sprinkled just a little bit more to tie in some more of that hot pink. Now I am back to, I'm going to cut some more pieces just to finish out so I can go ahead and adhere everything together and start building my actual layout. But I'm doing this in parts and going back and forth between messing with the background and die cutting, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to save time ultimately and let things dry, but while I'm still working, so I'm not just sitting there waiting for that background to dry. So right now what I've done is I'm trying to decide what other pieces I need to cut, how many, and like what colors. So I'm kind of building out where my photo's gonna go right here, like the layers. It's not gonna be perfect because I'm gonna take it apart in a minute. And so I'm pulling out just little pieces of the other colors I want to incorporate and adding the dies, just setting the dies on top of those so that you'll see what I'm going to be cutting out. And then I'm going to fast forward and do all of that off camera because it's just more running it through the machine. Now I pulled that Melon Mambo ink pad back out, and I'm stamping the octopus in that on the cream cardstock, the ivory. And then I do heat emboss it with the clear. And then I pulled the die that we used at the very beginning on the photo for those tiny little fish. I punch a bunch of them out on the terracotta tile cardstock. Sorry, I don't know why that is so hard for me to say. But I just punch a bunch of those out because I'm going to use the actual fish as part of something in a minute. So then I pulled out some random cardstock, just pattern paper that I don't really prefer the pattern, and I just don't think I'm very likely to use. And I'm going to add a ton of adhesive to the back of this layout. And I'm sure a lot of you are not liking to watch this happen because a lot of people don't like how much adhesive I use. But it makes me happy. It's fine. You do you. I'm doing this to try to help my background not be quite so bubbly up. And so I'm just trying to adhere it down so it makes it a lot flatter, which actually ends up working really well. You can see it's still a little bit warped, but not super bad at all. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere my photo down and then realize that I wanted to add these netting behind it. So I rip it back up, which wasn't hard to do because anytime you use gesso or mixed media on a layout, you really want to use liquid glue rather than the sticky adhesive, so it peeled off rather easily. And so I'm just adding the netting behind here just so it's kind of peeking out around. And then I'll be smart this time and use my Nuvo adhesive to adhere the photo down to the background. There we go. And then from there, the layout comes together super quickly because, you know, we did all this background work already, so we're good. And I'm going to start with the largest pieces at the back and then work towards the front with the smaller pieces. So I'm adding like these tall seaweed pieces back here first. And I'm not adhering them completely flat because, I mean, that's part of the fun of it, is that there's a lot of dimension and texture to this. And it looks more like what you would see in the ocean with all the dimension and everything. They're not going to be completely flat like that. And I'm just building out. And then it's going to be just straight across the bottom, but going out a little bit on either side of the photo. And this vellum, using the liquid adhesive with the vellum, it makes it kind of curl up a little bit. And if I wasn't doing this on camera, probably what I would do was adhere all the vellum pieces down and then lay clear acrylic blocks on top to let them dry flat first. And then go on from there. And once it's dry, they'll flatten back out fine, but it's just a matter of getting there. Like, they kind of get in the way sometimes if they curl up like that. And then I'm moving down to the smaller pieces, like these little skinny seaweed kind of looking pieces. And you can see where I had to fold that back up so that it wouldn't get crushed underneath the next layer of seaweed. And I'm just layering and tucking all these bits together. And it took a lot of background work to get to this point, but this part is super, super easy and goes, like I said, really quickly. And then you end up with this really cool layout in the end. And if you're not somebody who likes to spend a lot of time on a layout, I mean, I totally get that. But something like this would be super easy that you can work in shifts. Like, you can set and just kind of die cut some images whenever you have a few minutes at a time. And then at the end, whenever you have everything you think you need, then you can sit down and do your layout. So it makes it go rather quickly. And then I also cut out these sand dollar pieces, but I don't like how you see all the background through them. So I'm going to just adhere them onto the cardstock that I cut them from, and then fussy cut around them so that they're solid, but you still get that nice texture where you see that it's a sand dollar and you see the like little star or flower piece that's in the middle. And I would have thought I would have cut this out, but apparently I didn't. So we're just going to sit and watch me fussy cut these real quick. And even right now, I'm loving how this layout looks. It gets even better, but so far it's amazing. I'm really hooked on the mixed media lately. I've been watching a ton of Missy Wooden videos, so I'm really loving all the fun, crazy backgrounds. And you can see, even just from here, you can see that hot pink of the sprinkles that we did earlier is already starting to dry a little bit more fluorescent pink, which is really kind of cool. I mean, it wasn't the color I intended it to be, but it ends up really nice. And now I'm just adding the sand dollars using Stampin' Dimensionals and just kind of using them to hide some of the awkward parts of my like little layers of seaweed and bits. So now these teeny tiny fish that I cut out, I'm going to go in and use my Nuvo adhesive to adhere them. And at first what I'm doing is I'm picking spaces on the photo where the fish aren't really, where there's like weird gaps or spaces between the fish that I can fit them in easily. And then I'm going to move outward, and I'm going to the left side first with the fish and adding just a few drops of Nuvo and then going in and adding the fish. I'm using this Pick Me Up tool from Stampin' Up. They call it something different, but it is amazing, especially for tiny little bits like this that I can't seem to use my fingernails for. And then I'm going to go over to the right side and do this as well. And I think I'm going to show you the whole way that I did all the glue over here, but I won't make you watch me glue all those tiny fish down. But I do make it so that it looks like a nice wave of fish, like the whole school of fish is going through the entire page. So right now you can't see it as well, but we'll do some more stuff in a minute to just help them stand out, and then at the end you'll see them really well. So now I'm going to fast forward and you can see all those little fish, and I finished off on the left side too and carried them all the way to the edge of the paper. And now I just went back with a gray Staedtler ink pen, and I'm just adding some tiny fish with my gray pen, and they're just the fish where it's like a triangle and like a teardrop together, and then just adhering them all down. I mean, not adhering them down, sorry, I got distracted. Just drawing a bunch of fish throughout that whole thing. Now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this octopus, and I'm using Stampin' Dimensionals to do this. So this is rather boring to watch as well, I'm sorry. But I'm just using a bunch of Stampin' Dimensionals, trying to fit them so that they're not hanging over the edge of the octopus. So I did use a mix of regular size and the minis. And I'm just adhering him right there, and he's kind of tucked in the seaweed, so he's not standing out too much, but he's still in that little scene. And then I added another mini dimensional behind that one tentacle just to raise it up a little bit and make it more on the level of everything else. So now I'm going to pull out, these are Chamel thickers, and they're just these nice glittery. And I was thinking about using a different word, and then I saw the awesome, and I really like the awesome. So we're going to pull awesome off and add it across here, just right there at the bottom. And the foam words are really nice because you can kind of manipulate them to get kind of the shape and size that you need or want. So I'm just going to adhere that down. And then these are from, I think, one of Paige Evans' lines, and they're the mini thickers. They're kind of a rose gold, I mean, not rose gold, like a champagne color on navy. So they go really well with the awesome glitter word. And now I'm just getting all of that adhered down. And then I also liked the fact that I could pull in these colors because I do have some gemstones from Stampin' Up that are that champagne color. These are the in color little gemstones from Stampin' Up, and this is for the in color that is just now retiring. So they are, last I checked, they were still available in the shop, but they will only be available as long as they are in stock. So I'm just adding those, sprinkling them around. And then they look like water droplets. They're just clear little domed glass beads. And I'm adding those around and then sprinkling them as well. And these are not retiring. They should still be in the shop. And then I'm pulling out those champagne ones that I was mentioning before and adding those guys. Those are also not retiring. Those should still be in the shop as well. And I just love how it's coming together. It's just so pretty. And I mean, I don't know what I really expected it to look like from the beginning. I don't remember, but this is just amazing. I love how this turns out. So I'm definitely going to have to use those sprinkly colors in the future to get some more fun layouts. So now I'm pulling out just some Nuvo drops to kind of fill in the rest of these bits down here. And this is in like a nice gold, I think it's like Summer Sunset or something like that. And those are not Stampin' Up, they're just something that I have in my stash. I just love Nuvo drops, so just gonna tie those in as well. And then that's pretty much it. After this, I am going to do just a little bit of journaling off to the right. And I think that's all. After everything is dry and everything, I think it's in my photos, but it might not be in my photos. I do go in with like a fluorescent pink Nuvo drop and add just a little bit of that to tie in more of that fluorescent pink that the sprinkles ended up drying that color. So, but after that, that is all. I just add this tiny bit of journaling and I'm done. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, congratulations, because that is a long video. I'm very sorry it ended up this long, but I just didn't want to cut anything out that was important. And you can see in that close-up there is so much texture and stuff going on. It's super, super fun. So thank you guys again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and happy scrapping. Bye.